Good morning, or depending when you're listening to this, or watching it, it's up to you. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice of radio. So today, we're going to be doing something that we do every so often. We're going to be looking at an old card that everybody's just said, nah, it's not good. And we're going to be looking if actually, in fact, maybe it could be good. Now, shout out to Mini UK English over on Twitter, who did bring this up to me. And essentially, they suggested that Serina needs a different look. And I'll tell you what, I think they might be right. So I suppose a sensible place to start here would be looking at Tsareena GX and looking at whether, in fact, it is a good Pokemon. Well, it's a Stage 2 GX, and Stage 2 GX that's awkward right now. That doesn't mean it's a death knell of the card, it doesn't mean it's unplayable, but it does make it more awkward. Okay, with that out of the way, it's got 230 HP, which is on the lower end, to be honest with you. It's down there with Gardevoir, certainly not up there with something like Metagross, which we would prefer, and a retreat cost of 2 kind of sucks. But it's weak to fire, which is fine, because I'm convinced Flareon GX is going to be great, but that's not out yet. And other than that, I mean, look, Blacephalon is a thing. Blacephalon may well be the best deck in the format when Lost Thunder comes out, but it can hit for like as much damage as it wants. So even if you're not weak, you're going to be one-hit KO, so it doesn't really matter if you're weak to that. Okay, so let's go back to Serena's attacks then. For 1 Grass Energy, switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active. The new active Pokemon is now confused, and that's quite good for slowing them down and disrupting them, but that's not going to win you the game. GX attack, 2 grass, 1 colorless. Your opponent discards 4 cards from their hand. I mean, you only need to look at Delinquent to know how good this can be. Delinquent was a card that just won games. Delinquent, you had to discard the stadium in play, but then your opponent discarded 3 cards from their hand. If Delinquent won games by making your opponent discard 3 cards from their hand, and that would win you games, surely discarding 4 cards could. Although as far as I'm concerned, Serena commits one of the worst sins in the Pokemon TCG, and that is having a GX attack cost which is more expensive or more awkward than your regular attack. Regular attack is grass double colorless, 2 energy attachments. This is grass colorless, no bad Serena. But the main attack here is the one that gives us pause for thought. 90 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is confused, you do 180. That's a lot of damage. That's an instant KO on something like Rayquaza. But as soon as you add a choice band to go up to 210, then Buzzwole's going down and Zoroark's going down. An awful lot of stuff is going down. Nice. The issue has always been twofold for Serena. Firstly, getting a grass double colorless on a stage 2 is not the easiest thing to do. Secondly, you've got to get them confused. And look, the first attack isn't going to do it. Dragging them up, leaving them confused, and hoping they just wait around in the active confused till next turn is not a good plan and is not going to lead you to success. So what's changed to make us take a look at Serena? And as far as I'm concerned, there's 3 things that make Serena way better than it used to. The first one of these is Alolan Ninetails GX, the new one coming in Lost Thunder. And the thing about Alolan Ninetails GX is, it's got an ability whereby when you evolve up into it, you get to search your deck for any 2 item cards and put them into your hand. That's kind of over the top crazy good. And you use it for, rare candy. And let's not forget that it evolves from Alolan Vulpix, which has got Beacon. So essentially, you start off with Alolan Vulpix, and remember it's a 0 energy attack, so you can use your energy for the turn to retreat it. Well, to retreat your active and get it in the active. And then you search for a Serena and an Alolan Ninetails, and then you use Alolan Ninetails to grab yourself a rare candy, and whatever other card you want in terms of a trainer card. Maybe you grab yourselves an energy lotto, because clearly grabbing that double colorless is going to be a bit of a pain. And I think this is the blueprint for Stage 2 decks going forward. I think it's a blueprint where you use Alolan Ninetails GX to get your Serina up and running. Nice. Okay, that's cool. But we still got this issue of confusion, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is where Tapu Lele comes in. No, not the GX that everyone's been using. No, not the one that rearranges damage counters. Yeah, that one, the new one from Lost Thunder. The ability for which says, when you attach a Fairy Charm to this, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon confused. I know, right? Instant confusion. You are absolutely raring to go here, because you can now guarantee confusion every turn. You pop a Fairy Charm on, your opponent's active gets confused, and then you are instantly hitting 180. That is brilliant. I like this very much. And don't forget, Alolan Ninetails will search out your Fairy Charms, so they're pretty good. Now, in terms of the Fairy Charms, we've actually got a bunch of different Fairy Charms. We've got Grass, Dragon, Fighting, and Psychic. And what they do is they give you immunity from a particular type of EX and GX Pokemon. So as long as it's attached to a fairy Pokemon, unfortunately will not work on Serina. But as long as they're attached to a fairy Pokemon, you essentially get immunity from attacks from EXs and GXs. And there's nothing to stop you here playing a fairy Pokemon and just going, okay, if my opponent is using one of these decks that relies on these, let's say I'm up against a Buzzwole GX deck, I can use Fairy Charm Fighting to wall them, and I don't need to worry about Serina. Of course, most decks nowadays are playing non-GXs, like the non-GX Buzzwole, so it's not exactly a foolproof plan that's going to work every time. But, you know, it's something to bear in mind. So this is quite nice, but then you might be thinking, okay, Wassy, fine, I get you kind of, but aren't you just going to not have one of these every turn? Are you not going to get to a situation where eventually you just don't have a Fairy Charm? And the answer is no, because we've got Magearna from Ultra Prism, whose ability says, once during your turn before you attack, you may put a Pokemon tool card attached to one of your Pokemon into your hand. And there's two ways to do this. Either you leave the Fairy Charm attached, and then every turn you just take it off and whack it straight back on. You don't even need a second Tapu Lele on the bench. It can all be done with one. But then you do run the risk of your opponent dropping a Field Blower and getting rid of them. Or if you are worried about Field Blower, you can just attach it and then immediately pick it back up again. So you get the confusion, but you don't give your opponent a chance to discard it. Yeah, they might play a Judge, and then you'll have to search the Fairy Charm back out again. But if it really comes down to it, use Alolan Ninetails. Oh yeah, by the way, you know I said how you could use Fairy Charm on an attacker if you were against a particular kind of deck? Yeah, Alolan Ninetails will work, ladies and gentlemen. That will work very nicely indeed. So I think you've got to play it with Alolan Ninetails. And you've got to use both Tapu Lele and Magearna, and that's a bit awkward. And don't forget Alolan Muck will turn off both of their abilities. But other than that, I think we've solved a couple of the problems. I think now we've solved the problem of consistency, because Alolan Ninetails will make Stage 2 decks way better. And we've solved the problem of having confusion every turn with Tapu Lele. But I am not convinced we've solved the energy cost problem. And honestly, that's what I'm worried about. Because it's still a grass double colourless. Which means you've still got to get the grass on one turn, then the double colourless the next. And we don't have a good way of accelerating grass energy at the moment. There's no aqua patch like there is for water decks, for instance. And I think this is what's going to stop Serina from being top tier. I think it's absolutely worth considering, and I think the combination of Alolan Ninetails and Tapu Lele make this way better. Oh yeah, there was one other card I was going to tell you about. It is Life Forest Prism Star. It is a Prism Star Stadium. Once during your turn, you may heal 60 damage and 1 special condition. It's Pokemon Center Lady as a stadium. But you can use it every turn with Serena until your opponent either plays their own stadium or discards it with an attack, because remember, these are immune to stuff like Field Blower. You cannot get rid of Prism Star Stadiums using items or supporters. I really like the idea of Serena, and I want it to be good. But honestly here, I don't know if we are going to be able to get around this energy cost. And I think that's what's going to stop it being top tier. But I really encourage you all to go and have a play around. So tell me what you think about this, but tell me in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, other than going and checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, that's where we deal with other games, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.